how to start your Monday morning. Start the fire, boil the water, grind the coffee, add filter, coffee in the filter, water into filter, watch it drip, more water, watch it drip some more, fill your cup, raise your cup, and no. Leave the house and leave it up to the professionals to make the coffee. I'll stick to the conversations. Welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen.
Hey, good morning. Happy Monday. It is my, of course, favorite day of the week. Thank you so much for being here. This is show number 96, and I'm so glad you're with us. Before we jump in, though, I do want to say thank you for all the birthday wishes last week. I didn't have a chance to respond to all of you individually, but it was an amazing day. I had so much fun. Got to go to Texas Roadhouse with my kids and have some of that wonderful bread. So, yeah, it was all good. Although I have to say, this is the first year I did not get a coffee cup. I don't know how long it's been, but every year, every holiday, I usually get a brand new coffee cup. So I think my family has finally decided that I've met my quota. So yes, but it was a wonderful, wonderful week, and thank you so much for all of the birthday wishes that you guys all sent out. I really appreciate it. Well, as we roll into October, there is still a lot to celebrate, of course. It is Women's Small Business Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we are also shining a light on not two, but three organizations that are so big in our community, and also the Michigan Association of Senior Centers. Kim Phillips, she is here. She actually drove in all the way from Kalamazoo today, so thank you so much, Kim. So grab your coffee, settle in. I've got mine, of course, as always, and let's kick this off, this 96th episode, with some inspiration, a little bit of gratitude, 6 or 7 things of gratitude, and some good conversation. So Kim Phillips, you are the president of the Michigan Association of Senior Center.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you so much for being here. You drove in from Kalamazoo, and I'm so thankful for that because you've got a big event coming up, and I am grateful and proud to be the MC for you guys in November.
Oh, we are thrilled to have you participate with that.
Oh, thank you so much. So for people who don't know what MASC is, tell us what it is.
Sure. So the Michigan Association of Senior Centers is an organization that provides support and resources to all the senior centers across the state of Michigan. The senior center model varies from community to community, but we work really hard to provide training, professional support, networking for the professionals working in that industry.
You know, so at last year's event, that was in Lansing, right, last year, and it was really phenomenal because there were so many different senior centers there from representatives from around the state, and just everything that they do. I mean, there was bingo, you know, they were talking about all the innovative ideas that they come up with. And it's amazing. And there was even a drive-in, I think, right?
So, yeah, I mean, I always say if you've seen one senior center, you've seen one senior center. Everybody's different. And, you know, there are senior centers that do your traditional, you know, the bingo and the bridge, and there's a place for that. But there's other places that are doing wine tasting and kayaking and programs on sexual health even. And so, you know, older adults really need a place to connect and stay socially engaged. And so those senior centers in every community provide that.
Okay, so you are at a senior center yourself, right?
I am.
Okay, so what is yours like? Describe it.
Oh my gosh, how much time do you have? So I run the Portage Zang Senior Center, which is in Kalamazoo County. We are in a new facility that's only about 3.5 years old. Okay. Our claim to fame right now is that we are the only senior center in the state with a liquor license.
Love that. When's happy hour?
So we do a lot of programs on wine tasting and, you know, things like that, because you just don't stop living your life when you know, as you get older. But we also have indoor pickleball and a fitness center and social activities and a travel program. It's very, very active.
So senior centers are where seniors go for the day.
Absolutely.
Right. So this is not where they live. This is where they go to kind of hang out and hang out with friends and stuff.
Activities and recreation. And like I said, every center typically is a reflection of the community that they're located in. But, you know, and we're very busy. Like our center serves probably about 300 older adults every day.
Okay.
And there's always something going on.
So, you know, I have this thing where I say, if you're isolated, because we've heard that a lot, right, about seniors being isolated. I mean, kind of everybody is to some extent, it feels like now. But these senior centers, I mean, they really give new hope to people who may not have family around or friends anymore.
Sure.
So talk about that a little bit.
Well, if COVID taught us nothing, it was the impact of social isolation, right? And there's actually a study that says that if you are at home and you don't engage with other human beings, it has the same physical impact of smoking 17 cigarettes a day.
Really?
It actually physically hurts your health. And so to go to a center and engage with your peers, I don't even care if you don't talk to anybody, but to sit in the presence of other people and have a cup of coffee and read a book it's a health issue. And so it's good for your health. And then if we can sweeten the pot by offering workshops on, health related issues, or get you socially engaged, or get you referred to places if you need assistance, all the better, right? I mean, that's what every senior center is there for.
So do you guys have a community outreach to where people may not be able to make it to the center, or how does that work? How do people come to you?
So we do transportation to and from our center within our community, and a lot of senior centers offer that. They'll offer, we also offer transportation to and from grocery shopping for people that have mobility issues. So, because at some point, sometimes people can't drive anymore, and so if we can kind of fill that gap, but in most communities, that's the senior centers can get you connected with transportation to get where you need to go.
Okay, so you mentioned sexual health. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Oh boy, okay.
Because I think it's an interesting aspect. I mean, when my grandfather, he was actually in assisted living for a long time, but it was like my mom would get a call and it'd be like, hey, can you get here? He's got a girlfriend.
Right.
Relationships they just change, but they don't have to stop because you're older.
Well, you never stop craving connection and intimacy. And that may change as you get older, especially for women, as we go through menopause and our bodies change and our hormones change. And so one of the things that we do at my center is we have an expert that comes in to talk to, we do women's only group with an expert to talk about menopause and, how your life is going to change and how you can improve your life and maintain those connections physically, emotionally, intellectually, and stay connected with people in your life.
What's the response to that?
People love it.
Do they?
People love it. And because I think you give them an opportunity to ask questions that they are afraid to ask.
It's kind of like being in 6th grade again, right? You sit there and you write the notes and you don't sign your name.
Absolutely. Well, and, I think we've all had that moment where when we think about our parents, having a physical relationship, you're like, right? I remember my own father called me. He was going to go through treatment for prostate cancer, and he wanted to talk to me about how that treatment was going to affect his sex life. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Dad, but it's important. That's an important part of his quality of life.
Right.
And so having those conversations and creating those opportunities is good for everybody.
So how come you got into this business? It takes a certain somebody, I think.
It does. I'll tell you a funny story. When I applied for this job, they wanted somebody with a degree in gerontology, and I had a degree in communications.
Oh.
And I said in the interview, you have the wrong requirement. This is not a nursing home. This is an activity center. You want people to stay active and engaged. And I had been in the nonprofit sector for a long time, and so I just love working with older adults, and I love seeing that there's so much, your life doesn't stop, and seeing that potential and that possibility is truly inspiring.
So do you see a difference from somebody who maybe comes there for the first time and then they start hanging out with people and experiencing the happy hour and, pickleball and all that, and do you see a physical change in them?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have quite a few people who will say, it was a senior center and I didn't want to go, but I'm glad I did. I have had people say this place saved my life.
I was just going to mention that.
It got me re-engaged. And so I think that that's important to create those opportunities. And there is a certain stigma that goes along with the name senior center. But wherever anybody is in their community, I would highly recommend go in and check it out. You might be surprised at what you find.
So what are the ages?
So it varies. So for my senior center, we serve ages 50 and up.
Okay.
There are some that serve ages 60 and up, 65 and up. You really have to check with your local center. The federal definition is 60.
Okay.
But like I said, for my center, you only have to be 50 years old.
Okay, so this event coming up, it's November 4th and November 5th. It's in Auburn Hills.
It is.
But November 4th is kind of a cool thing. So talk about that.
So we're having the statewide conference for the Michigan Association of Senior Centers in Auburn Hills, and the 4th we're doing a special vendor mixer with businesses and agencies that can provide services or want to connect with senior centers around the state. So we'll have a special happy hour and
we're big on happy hour, aren't we?
We do like happy hour. But it's an opportunity to really engage with senior centers that are looking for additional services or resources and kind of connect them with vendors.
Okay, so anyone in this area can come to that, right?
They have to sign up ahead of time,
Okay,
but
so
yes,
sign up.
they can register through our website, and we still have spots left for vendors at the vendor mixer.
Okay, so that is happening November 4th. November 5th are the awards.
We're very excited, and to have you there as
Thank
part
you.
of that is amazing. This will be our second annual Awards of Excellence, and we are accepting nominations for Senior Center Program of the Year, Director of the Year, New Professional of the Year, Community Partner, Volunteer, and there's one more, facility improvement.
Okay.
And so we wanted to create the opportunity to recognize and highlight the excellent work that senior centers are doing around the state.
Okay, so to nominate a senior center or a person at a senior center, how do people do that?
You can get right to the link to the awards on our website, which is letter I, seniorcenters.org. And all the information on the conference and the award nominations is on our website.
Okay, awesome. And that is in Auburn Hills, Crown Plaza, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to that.
gonna be great.
It's such an interesting time, and to see all of you guys come together. And I spoke to the volunteer last year. You know, I had a quick interview with her, and she was amazing because of all the times, you know, these people dedicate so much time and energy to helping the seniors, and that is so important.
Volunteers are critical. You know, I think unfortunately, a lot of senior centers tend to run on a tight budget. And so having the amount of volunteers that we have really makes a huge difference.
How many volunteers do you have?
I have about 200.
Really? Okay. Are you open 7 days a week?
We're open 6 days a week.
What day are you closed?
Saturday.
Oh, Saturdays. Really?
So, and we're open later into the evening, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we are open on Sundays. It's for pickleball, man. They like to play.
So is that the most popular thing going on there right now?
Pickleball and fitness in general is a hugely popular category.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing. Thank you for driving in from Kalamazoo too.
My pleasure.
I appreciate that. Okay, so it is also Women's Small Business Month, and Cindy Sierra, you are here from CC Consulting.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being here. And we've spoken on the phone before, I think, a couple
believe
times.
we have.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So CC Consulting
Yep.
is kind of all about retail.
It's all about retail. My company does retail consulting, and developers, property owners, cities hire me to bring and enhance their tenant mix, or what retail options is offered in their property or in their city.
Okay, so how did you get started in this?
So I've been in the business. So I've had my company 20 years. I've been involved in the business for over 30. And I started in the mall business. I actually, out of college, I got a job with a company called General Growth. They owned the malls, Northland, Southland, Eastland, and Westland. Oh. And ultimately, I went to go work for the Forbes company, which was opening Somerset Collection North. Got involved with that, and then ultimately started my company 20 years ago.
You know, my first job was at Westland Mall.
No kidding.
Yep, I worked at Fisher's Hallmark, and
Really?
then I worked at Olga's.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
I would go from Fisher's Hallmark, and then I would go to Olga's at like 3 o'clock and hostess and stuff. It was, you know, the mall life
so
was
funny.
fantastic
It
back
was,
then.
absolutely. I was actually based out of Westland
Oh,
Mall.
were you really?
I was.
I thought you looked
was
familiar.
So, yeah, exactly. Maybe it was the same time.
So, okay, so talk about, I mean, obviously the mall landscape has changed tremendously.
It has, yes.
So, but for you, I mean, what you do with retail, I mean, it also affects the economy.
It does. And it's amazing to me that if you bring the right retailers to an area, and when I say right retailers, what does that mean? It means retailers that are really desirable to the population that lives there or wants to come there. And when you put in certain retailers that enhance the area, it's amazing. I mean, the investment in the area, it helps the residential in the area, it helps the overall businesses and restaurants in the area. So it's really important to really be very strategic about the retailers and restaurants that go into specific areas.
So how do you figure that out?
So, I mean, a lot of it is the fact that I've been doing it for a long time, so I have a sense of who I think will go well. I'm very up on, you know, who the latest retailers are, who's attractive, who's developing at this time. Also, I think, you know, to look at the communities themselves. What type? I mean, would this be a community that would benefit by a bookstore? You know, by a certain apparel store. Maybe it's an area that doesn't have a lot of men's, and men's apparel is lacking. So you really got to look through who's there and who do you want to come to the area.
So who else do you take into consideration? I mean, besides the community and obviously other business owners, but that seems like a big feat, right? To actually bring a new retailer into a community.
It is. Oh, it is. I mean, I'm very active and involved with, RH is opening a 55,000 square foot store in downtown Birmingham, and they're going to be opening Restoration Hardware. Sorry.
That's okay.
And they, that was a big decision for them to move. They were in the mall. They were in the Somerset collection, but they decided they wanted a freestanding, massive anchor department store. Now, Birmingham hasn't had an anchor department store since Jacobson's. And so they, the first site didn't work. We had to go back to the drawing board. The second site worked. And again, it's opening next month, and we're really excited about it. But they looked at demographics. They looked at co-tenancy. So CB2 is there, which is Crate and Barrel. And they looked at Ethan Allen is there. And some of these stores are doing extraordinarily well in their sales. So they're like, well, there's a room for an RH. And so a lot of times it is co-tenancy, it's the market itself, and it's just, in location. And I hate to mention, but economics is a big deal.
For sure.
Because it has to be something that works for the landlord, that works for the tenant. So, and many of these real estate deals they're not inexpensive nowadays. They're more expensive than they've ever been. They take longer, and they're more challenging just because of, number one, I think economic times. But if you're a brand considering making a huge investment, you're not doing it for a year or two. You're doing it for a decade or more. So it's a big decision for all parties involved.
And it's not a quick turnaround.
It's not
so
a
you're
good
in
turnaround.
for the long haul.
No, you're in for the long haul. You're in for the long haul. Absolutely.
So how long have you been with you started your business how long ago?
20 years ago. 20 years ago this past summer.
Okay, so as compared to 20 years ago and now, what would you do different?
I don't think I do that much different. I think that the retail environment has changed so dramatically. And I hear this all the time. Oh, Cindy, everybody's going to be shopping online and no one's going to be opening stores. Quite honestly, the opposite is true because there are so many new brands coming aboard. I'll just mention a few because I think it's important. I mean, Viore, if you know Viore, it's a healthcare athleisure brand. I mean, they're giving Lululemon a run for their money, and men love that brand. And so their sales are amazing. I mean, they're going into all different locations. There's a number of women's apparel stores that are up and coming. There's a children's apparel that's up and coming. So there's always new brands and there's new people coming on the retail landscape all the time. And yes, we might order a lot from Amazon or whatever, but you're never going to stop shopping. You never are. It's a tactile thing. You want to go shop. It's fun. It's entertainment. It's an experience. And so, shopping districts will never go away. Malls will never go away. Will they downsize and will there be fewer? Well, our country was over-malled, so that's a whole nother story. But, I mean, they're right-sizing now. And you look at malls, like a 12 Oaks or like a Somerset Collection. I mean, they're more successful than they've ever been. So, and they have a waiting list of tenants wanting to go there.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
So the malls that are left are very successful, and the downtown districts and shopping districts are also, it's a very strong category right now, is that whole retail.
Okay, so I'm going to ask all of you, where do you shop online more, or do you go into brick and mortar?
It's a mix.
Is it a mix?
Yeah, I do. I don't live close to grocery stores, so I actually do grocery deliveries.
Oh, do you? Okay.
So I can work, drive, get the kids, and get groceries delivered. But when we go for clothing or textile, like it definitely is the experience. The Partridge Creek, Somerset.
Sure.
So it's a mix.
How about you, Nina?
Same as Christine. Yes, I think for efficiency sometimes and to save time, I order things online. But I really do like the tactile experience, like Cindy was mentioning, touching fabrics and seeing things and seeing the quality of items.
Okay, Kim, how about you?
Obviously, we order things online, but I try as much as possible to buy local.
Okay.
I think that's really important to support the businesses that are local to us.
I love grocery shopping, So that's like my thing where I can go for like 3 hours. And it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't so much like shopping for clothes as much as I do just being at the grocery store and kind of wandering around and checking out the coffee selection or, you know, but it's funny because when I've done delivery, I've always forgotten something. You know, it's always been like, no, this isn't what I wanted. I put in the wrong thing. You know, I'd much rather go and waste a whole day there. But as far as Amazon, obviously, it's like when you're in a rush for something and you need it desperately, like that Halloween costume, you order it because it's convenient. You know, and so Cindy, how has that changed? I mean, the convenience plus the tactile.
Well, and I think you're going to find this was a great sampling, and I think that stands for much of the country is you do a combination of both. The one thing that's interesting, and I just think this is an interesting tidbit, is that 1/3 of all the whatever you order online gets returned.
Really?
1/3. That's a huge number. And for those of you who do it on a regular basis, like I'll do it late at night too. I'm busy at night. I'm going to go online. You know, either the size isn't right, the fabric isn't right, it isn't what you thought. I mean, 1/3. And so many times, if you want to get something, you got a wedding coming up, you want to get the dress right away, you're going to go into the store, try it on, and you know, okay, it fits, and you don't have to worry about that. So.
Or you order it and it's only an inch big.
It's Barbie sized,
yeah,
and you're
that's
like,
right,
this
that's
is
right.
not going to work out so well.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so Cindy, one more question. What would you say to an aspiring female entrepreneur who is just starting? What's the number one piece of advice you give her?
Well, I think if they're considering retail, I would very much encourage it because I do think this is, it's an area of business that's continuing to evolve. I think it's exciting. I think there's the fashion element, there's the business element. It's not going away. It's interesting. It's a business that many women are not in. There's not a lot of women in commercial real estate. And in fact, I go to a lot of conferences and I'm sitting on a lot of panels and whatever. It's usually me and the boys. I mean, it just always is. And it always has been for 30 years.
You haven't seen that change at all or a little bit?
A little bit, a little bit. But I would encourage women because I think maybe it's, like I said, it's a hard business. It's not easy. The deals are tougher and whatever. Maybe it's kind of a intimidating type business, but I would encourage it because I think, yes, as more women get involved with it, as, our landscape evolves and more retailers are coming on the scene, I think it's an exciting business.
That is awesome. And I know you're also very community involved.
I am.
And that is super important, I think, for locally owned businesses as well.
Absolutely. I sit on several nonprofit boards. It's a very big deal for my company to be very entrenched in the community. And I find, I rate my success as how I can help the nonprofits I'm associated with. And I think that more people need to do that. And I think it's just to be in that space and to give back is something that every company should do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I don't know. Can you guys hear my stomach growling? It is really bad. I'm like sitting next to you thinking, oh my gosh, my stomach is growling so bad. Well, giving back to the community, I know it's important for all of us. And Nina, you are here with the Shades of Pink and a good friend. I haven't seen you for quite a while.
Yes, well, thank you for your continued partnership.
Oh, no,
You've
thank
been
you.
a great friend to the
I got
foundation.
my cup in,
I know,
did you notice?
I love it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm like, okay, got to have my cup. So Shades of Pink Foundation, and there are so many organizations and nonprofits that come out at this time. You guys are year-round. And a lot of people say, oh, well, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it shouldn't be all year long, and shouldn't it? But this is really the time to raise awareness, and you guys do so much in the way of hope and also financial help.
Absolutely. And thank you for pointing out that as an organization, we are a local nonprofit, and while we support breast cancer patients undergoing treatment year-round, October is a very special month for us. It's an opportunity to raise awareness for the many worthwhile organizations that are dedicated to breast cancer support. But we, during the month of October, love to partner with local organizations, municipalities, schools, teams, companies who are interested in giving back and educating others about the important work that we do and raising funds that make a meaningful difference for the community that we serve. And I'm proud to share that we have been investing in the local community for 20 years. We, like Cindy, we are celebrating our 20th anniversary as a nonprofit, and that is in large part due to the outpouring of community support that we have received from public, private, and corporate donors, sponsors, community partners, an army of volunteers. And during that time, since 2005, we have distributed over $3.5 million in temporary financial assistance to breast cancer patients.
That is amazing.
And our mission is to provide temporary financial assistance to patients undergoing treatment by providing prompt funding for daily living expenses.
Because breast cancer is one of the most expensive
Absolutely.
cancers, right?
Yes, it absolutely is. And while I think most of us can appreciate that breast cancer carries an emotional and physical toll, the financial impact of a diagnosis is often overlooked. And approximately 50% of all individuals, regardless of their whether they have good paying jobs and insurance, will face financial hardship at some point during their diagnosis. So our mission is to step in, help bridge the gap during a very challenging time, ease that financial burden for them so that patients can focus on their treatment and recovery. And we were founded on the principle that no person should have to forego life-saving treatment due to financial need.
And the whole idea of finances, I know when I'm struggling financially or when anyone is, your stress level just climbs incredibly. So I can't imagine having to go through treatment, having a family, and and just because that will impact your outcome.
Absolutely. We pay for things like mortgage, rent, car payments, utility bills, insurance premiums. We pay creditors directly so that patients who are perhaps missing work or sometimes laid off don't have to worry about that financial stress that comes along with the diagnosis. And oftentimes, situations are dire for the patients that we serve. Many times we're preventing evictions from homes or utility shutoffs. And so the assistance that we provide is direct and meaningful. We pay the creditors directly so that they can just try to relax during a very difficult time.
And try to heal, right?
And try to heal,
And try to-
absolutely, yeah.
So, okay, so Shades of Pink Foundation, 20 years.
20
That is
years.
amazing.
Thank you.
How do you guys find the women you help?
Well, actually, we don't have direct contact with the men and women that we serve. We are an inclusive organization because men too can be diagnosed with breast cancer. Applications come to us through somebody on that patient's healthcare team. It doesn't matter who: a nurse, a navigator, a social worker, a community health worker, an oncologist. So they help identify those patients that are in need, and then they help submit an application on a patient's behalf. Our process is anonymous and equity-based, and all funding decisions are based solely on need. So it's very gratifying for us after the fact. Sometimes we receive notes from patients that we've assisted, or men and women will come forward and just share the impact of the assistance that we've provided, and it's really extremely heartwarming. And oftentimes those women become ambassadors for the organization, which is wonderful. But I'd like to share with you how excited we are about October. And I mentioned earlier that we partner with many local businesses and schools and teams. And if anybody would like to support one of the many innovative community fundraisers around town during the month of October, they can visit shadesofpinkfoundation.org, visit a third-party event, purchase goods or services.
Isn't there pink popcorn happening again?
Pink popcorn is not happening with Imagine
No,
this
I'm
year.
sorry.
They are partnering with another very worthy organization, but there are many other companies that are just doing amazing work. And they're not only raising funds on our behalf, but they're increasing visibility for the organization, which is so important because as a local nonprofit, our goal is to serve as many people as possible. We proudly serve residents of 9 counties across Southeast Michigan, and we recently expanded our eligibility to include patients who may have to travel far distances to receive quality cancer care, to patients who may live outside of our service area, but are being treated in Southeast Michigan.
That's amazing. They say laughter is the best medicine.
Yes.
And you guys have this wonderful comedy event that you do.
Yes, we do.
So when is that?
It's tomorrow evening. It's
Okay.
at the community house. It's our Comedy for a Cause. Backed by popular demand, we have a fabulous female comedian from
Same one as
from
last year?
Nashville. Yes,
She was
Tara Brown.
amazing.
Unfortunately, registration is closed for that event because it's tomorrow, but we have other ways to support the organization throughout the month, and we have an upcoming event, a fashion show, to culminate our 20th anniversary celebration on November 8 at the Heathers Club in Bloomfield. And ticket information is on our website at shadesofpinkfoundation.org. So
Okay,
we
and
welcome your support.
And that's where we can find everything that's going on and how
Absolutely.
to support you.
Yes.
Okay.
And every gift of time, talent, and treasure matters to our organization and makes a meaningful difference. So we are just grateful for the outpouring of support. that we've
How about
received.
volunteers? Do you need? You guys
We
have
always
so many
need
volunteers, but you always
yes.
need more, right?
Yes, we always need more. We welcome dedicated individuals who are willing to share their time and talents with us. We have a volunteer interest form on our website, and our signature fundraising event, which happens at the Detroit Zoo every April. April 25th is the
And
date
that
of
is
our...
quite the event.
It's quite the
and
event.
quite the party.
Yes, last year we had over 2,500 registered walkers. It's a very uplifting event, but speaking of volunteers, it takes more than 100 volunteers to help run that successful event for us. So,
So real quick, I know when people go to these events at the zoo, and I speak for Mothers Against Drunk Driving sometimes, and people always assume that these events are going to be like really sad because you're remembering somebody, you're there on someone's behalf. But I have to tell you that at your walk, I know just like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, you are sad because you're missing someone or you're fighting for a cause. But at the same time, like what you just said, it's so uplifting and you just feel so empowered. And it's just a fantastic time to be with everyone who is celebrating and fighting at the same time.
yes, absolutely. Yes, you were one of, 100 teams
Yes,
last year when
it was
you
so
joined
much
us?
fun. Yeah,
It's,
but it really just such a fantastic cause, but I really tried to dispel that myth that these, I don't want to be sad on a Saturday. I don't want to go to the zoo and be crying, or because it's not about that. It's about doing something good for the community.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, give me the website one more time.
shadesofpinkfoundation.org.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nina. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And it's always so much fun to see you. It's been
Yes.
so long.
Yes. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to switch gears for just a moment and talk about something that affects so many people, which is chronic pain. And whether it's from a bulging or herniated disc or even knee problems, finding real relief can be life-changing. And I recently had the chance to sit down with Dr. Saul Kogan, and he is the founder of the Nerve and Disc Institute. We had quite the conversation. In fact, I've talked to many of his patients, and they are helping patients not only heal, but get their lives back with the quality. And we had the chance to sit down and talk about his treatment, which is called intradisc neutrosis. Try saying that 5 times fast. Here's the conversation. Let's watch. I mean, people love you because you have helped them so much through your 33 years of practice.
I love that. I love to hear that. Just keep talking.
Just keep talking.
Just keep talking.
So the Nerve and Disc Institute, you have 3 locations?
3 locations.
Okay, so you have 3 locations, and the one unbelievable thing that I keep hearing over and over again is that everyone's pain was so high, but then they came to see you, and without surgery and without medication, without anything invasive, their walking and their quality of life has improved so much. So what do you say to that?
I think it's great. I mean, it's, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't see weekend warriors. We see people with severe and chronic back and neck problems, and most of them are desperate. Most of them have tried everything from medicating themselves to physical therapy to chiropractic, lasers. They've tried everything and only got temporary relief or no relief at all. And the vast majority of people we see, we're told at some point they either need to live with the pain or have surgery.
And those options are not really good for your quality of life,
Those options suck.
right?
I hate to say
You
that,
can
but
say
there's
that.
not a better way to say it. I
Right,
mean,
right.
those are terrible options. And, it's not like a hip replacement. I mean, a hip replacement has a very high success rate. People recover very quickly. Back surgery is much different. And unfortunately, the outcomes aren't great a lot of the time. And sometimes it's necessary, but more often than not, they can be avoided if they knew about the type of treatment that we do. But most of our patients have tried absolutely everything, and they're either desperate to get out of pain or desperately trying to avoid surgery.
Okay, so bulging discs, right? That is something that you deal with, and you have something that's amazing on your laptop. Because,
Yeah.
will you show me this? Because
Sure.
I don't know that I'll ever eat a jelly donut again, but
Why? It's a donut. You just, you don't have to squeeze it.
I don't know.
So I'm going to show you here first. This is
Okay.
a bone, this is a disc, and this is a bone. This is a bone, a disc, and a bone. They stack up bone, disc, until we get to your head, brains in your head, spinal cord comes down. So from in between the bones where the disc is, are where the nerves come out. So the vast majority of people that have disc problems really have a few things going on. One, unless it was a traumatic incident, their discs are degenerative. So basically what happens when a disc degenerates, it gets dried out and thinner. And you can see what happens is quite often the hole for the nerve gets smaller. So discs are living tissue.
Okay.
All living tissue has circulation. Spinal discs have no blood flow. So they depend on a pump mechanism within the disc that as you normally bend and twist and move, you push water, nutrients, and waste in and out of the disc. If a disc is damaged or injured, even if you didn't feel it at the time, your body tries to protect it and keeps it from moving so it doesn't get more injured.
So that's when you get sore and stiff?
Yeah,
or-
well, you may not even know it because I'll explain about the nervous system, but some people can tweak something, not even know it. But if you are sore and stiff, then you know, and you're protecting yourself. But what happens is they protect themselves and they don't move and they get dried out and thinner. And the lack of circulation over time causes the disc to get drier and thinner, and they show up darker on an MRI. So once a disc is degenerative, it gets weaker, and then they end up with bulges. And it could be traumatic or not, but a disc bulges, and what happens is it puts pressure on the nerve. Here's the thing with the nerves. Only 9% of the nervous system is responsible for pain. So to answer your question. So you can have a disc bulging, putting pressure on a nerve, and if it's in your low back, you could have low back pain or hip pain or butt pain or leg pain or foot pain or numbness or tingling or all of it or none of it. And if it's in your neck, you could have neck or shoulder or arm or hand or fingers or numbness or tingling and all of it or none of it. You can even have good days and bad days. Like I can do an MRI of you on your worst moment and I could do one on their best moment. I put them next to each other, they look the same. So the point here is the disc doesn't move in and out when they're doing things that feel good or bad. It's always in the same spot. The only difference in what they feel is what part of the nerve is irritated at that time.
Interesting. And I've spoken personally to many of Dr. Kogan's patients, and all of them really appreciate his non-surgical and non-invasive all-natural treatment. Again, that treatment that he's known for is intradisc neutrosis, and that can treat sciatica, spinal stenosis, bulging, herniated, or even degenerative discs. And if you mention Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen, you'll even get 50% off your treatment plan. They do have 3 locations, one in Farmington, the other in Clinton Township, and another in Grand Blanc. You can find all the information at nervediscinstitute.com, or you can actually give them a call. Some people actually pick up the phone. I'm not one of them, but some people do. That number is 586-416-DISC. or 586-416-3742 to make it simple. And again, if you mention Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen, you'll get 50% off your treatment plan. So tell the doctor I said hi. Okay, we are back, and I am going to be completely transparent with this. I am freaking out, man. Because I have got Kirsten, and a Christine, right? Or am I close?
Christine.
Okay, 6'7", man. It's one or the other.
It's one or the other.
One or the other, right? Okay, so you are with Community Housing Network, and you are with Haven. You are the president and CEO of Haven of Oakland County.
Yes.
Okay, so two very different organizations, right? But yet some commonalities at the end of the day, I would think, because of the housing issues and also what Haven does, which helps women.
Actually, all folks. We help victims of crime in their aftermath.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Haven.
So Haven's nonprofits. We have comprehensive services that are wraparound services from serving folks who are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. So we work very we're collaborative with the prosecutor's office here in Oakland County for a lot of the prosecutions. We work through the court systems where we have advocates from the time of crime until the time that they get through conviction, hopefully, where we have advocates sit with the victim. We have shelter services that provide emergency shelter in its immediate aftermath, or someone who's fleeing domestic violence. And then we also provide counseling. We provide everything within shelter, clothing, schooling, vital records that you might need to get registered in school. We work with Community Housing Network for housing and after our sheltering services in a collaborative space. And then we have a sexual assault nurse team. We have forensic nurses on staff. We have 3 full-time and 12 contingent nurses that provide services from 0 to 110 of clients that were unfortunately had a sexual assault experience, and bringing them in its aftermath. They do the sexual assault exam, which is what takes they collect evidence, photos, and everything to work with the prosecutor's office and law enforcement.
So that's if we watch TV shows, right, and I hate to say it like this,
Yes.
but rape kits, right? Is that what
Yes.
it's? Okay.
Yeah. We say sexual assault kits,
Right.
just because our clients, but to the public, it's called a rape kit. Even when I say domestic violence, I think I'm speaking more to your viewers. Mm-hmm. Internally, we say intimate partner violence.
And I wanted to talk to you about that because sometimes, anyone can be sexually assaulted.
Absolutely.
And you just don't know who has gone through this, but it's so hard to report.
It is absolutely hard to part. Well, when you say anyone, we do serve children. We work with Care House, which is another nonprofit, but when under age 11. So sexual assault is really any age. We have folks who are seniors who've family are worried that maybe they've experienced sexual assault, and then everybody in between. It affects all ages, race, socioeconomic status, whether it's intimate partner violence or sexual assault. A lot of people, we think women, because women are more likely to report.
Right.
We are, just as we're sitting on this couch, we're more conversational, we're more likely to be vulnerable with a friend or a neighbor, where men tend to not report as much. However, it's improved. We have larger numbers in reporting, and we've been in business 50 years, so the numbers are reflecting that men are reporting more than they used to. It's a conversation.
I would imagine there's a stigma with that.
There's a
men,
stigma.
right?
I think there's a stigma with anybody. I think anybody on this couch would be worried about reporting it domestic violence. Statistically, one of us is facing it right now, 1 in 4. So when you look at that statistic, well, actually it's 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men for domestic violence assaults. But a sexual assault, it's 1 in 4 with women and 1 in 7 with men.
Really?
So there's 2 people in this room that has experienced it to some degree or intimately facing it with a friend, neighbor, coworker. So it really does affect everybody. And the stigma is worried. You carry stigma in many ways. You have reputational risk with your career. You have worries. You worry about your neighbors, wondering if anything's going to get to them, or you're going to lose your job. And which is something to talk about too. There's people do lose their jobs due to domestic violence.
Give us some examples.
Well, actually, one of our best employees was fired from a previous role. Thank you to that work. No name to me, that business that let them go, but they were fired because the drama they brought to the workforce was too much for them to handle. So it's something more, I think, that we need. We have preventative education with Haven that we provide to not just people, schools, educational systems, but also to the corporate space. And where we bring in, you don't have an employee who is a problem, but you have an employee that has a problem, and how to navigate that. And I'd say that the corporate space is, the conversations are happening. When you look 50 years ago, it was what happens at home stays in home. Conversations people didn't want to have. And
it stays behind closed doors, right?
But it is very vocal. They're including it in their employee assistance programs. They're bringing Haven in to have conversations outside of the schools. So it's really, the needle moves slow, but we've come a long way.
So it's interesting, and I can't believe I'm going to actually say this, but years ago when I was starting out in broadcasting, I was in Northern California. That's where my career started. And there was a colleague there who had, I guess, already been arrested for sexual assault at one point during his career. And they had told him that if that were to happen again, he would be fired. Well, he tried with me because, you know, obviously morning news is very early, right? And you're in the studio like 4:30, sometimes 3:30. And it was Yuba City, so it was, you know, very desolate. And when he came in and this happened, and, you know, you're in a new job and you're just starting out and you're like, what do? I don't want to report this because I don't want them to think it's me. Right? The whole she asked for it, or, you know, whatever misnomer that is. But I do have to tell you that, so after that, he did not succeed, I will tell you that. But I was very shaken. And thankfully, one of the other disc jockeys had come in the next day and had asked me, hey, he's never tried anything with you, has he? And so I start crying. And so then he gets hauled off to the office, you know, he got fired. But I will tell you that I thought that was the end of it. And I was out on a remote, and he came with his wife, and they started heckling me while I was live on the radio. And I ended up, you know, when you're on remote, you make a lot of money, right? You get paid for the talent fee, you're out there. And you know, they took me off the remotes because they said I was a risk, even though that was originally their employee.
Right.
But I ended up losing so much income because of something that had happened to me.
Well,
and it was mind-blowing.
And thank you for sharing that, because your vulnerability in this moment is going to get many people hopefully watching today to call us and make that safety plan. But you mentioned a couple things that have grown, you know, the idea of a protection order. You know, we do know that once a protection order, we do that. We provide that at no cost through donor and grant funding. But if someone were to do it on their own, it would cost money, and then lethality goes up, meaning anytime there's legal intervention, there is, you know, a potential for harm. So for this person to retaliate against you in that space is a personal protection order would have been ideal, but it doesn't stop. So you taking actions and creating a safety plan to get out of it, having a network that we didn't even realize, but, you know, like you said some time ago. But it's not. It is, I myself am a secondary survivor. I was raised, you know, so I think we found our two people that have had experience.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's, I was raised in a home with domestic violence, who was my mother and not my father. And I moved out at 16 years old. So, you know, what led me to this is just every door opened ends up bringing me to where I'm sitting today. But a lot of folks, a lot of kids who are in these situations and children who are being affected by domestic violence do not disclose as well. And there might be teachers or adults or neighbors. So everybody on this couch could open, you know, just say, you know what, I'm going to ask some questions because I was hyper involved in everything. I was student council, auxiliary police officer, basketball,
so you were doing everything.
Softball, anything to stay out of the home, you know, ROTC, you name it. So when you have someone who's hyper involved, it doesn't always look like an abuse situation.
Right.
You know, it could look like, wow, this really accelerating, you know, this child is
always busy. What's going on, right?
You know, there's other things, you know, no parents around. So it shows up in different ways, you know, and kudos to your staff that recognized something and was intuitive enough to kind of
that was amazing, you know. So when he did mention that, you know, you just start crying because you're so relieved, and you don't want to get in trouble or retaliated against. So I guess with my situation, it was a little bit of both, right? So I was saved to some degree, but then at the end of the day, still kind of punished.
Yes.
But
remember, the responsibility lies with the abuser.
And
you know,
see,
and that's hard to.
That is so hard.
It's so hard to do. And also the person who, that gentleman who said is something, he sensed it, but he was not afraid. You know, he was probably worried to ask you. You know, because he was worried to offend. But I'd say we could learn a lot from him. And there was something there that we need to open our eyes and ask, you know, is everything okay? If you ever need anything. And then when they do come to you, as you did, don't judge, you know, don't believe them.
Right. You know? So how do we convince people? I guess there's two questions to this. How do we convince people to ask the questions, right? To pay closer attention, maybe. But also to the people who may be a little bit judgmental and think, oh, well, what was she wearing that day? Or, you know, the typical questions that we don't hear as much anymore, but I think we still hear a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, the first one is if asking them for disclosure is what you're, if someone discloses to you, is to believe them, and try your hardest not to pass judgment, because our own biases can get in the way of someone seeking further help. So really it's letting folks know that they're not alone. I mean, Haven alone provides 30,000 individual services a year. And that's just for people who have disclosed. Okay. As I'm a retired police officer, 21 years, and during my shift, any given day in the United States, and I've done the stats, you could, nationally, any police officer is facing 2/3 of their calls for domestic violence.
And those are the most dangerous sometimes, right?
Those are absolutely the most dangerous. So, and those are only reported. So really kind of, it's so important for us to start the conversations and let people know, I didn't really like the way, he spoke to you. An example, one really quick example I could give you is I remember being on a date with a double date, my husband and a friend and her husband. And my husband and I are very secure. We talk about things. Oh my gosh, Brooke Allen is just so pretty, isn't she? And my husband would go, yes. And then he would say, if I said that about a man, her husband would say, that's inappropriate and so disrespectful for her to say in front of her husband.
Really?
Yeah, and it seems so minor, and come to find out, she was in the middle of a really, really tumultuous relationship. So years later, we find that out. But these little signs, that's disrespectful, you say in front of your husband. I'm like, well, no, because we're really kind of conversational.
Right.
So you just
kind of joking and.
Yeah. So when you have that intuition, and you go, that's the moment when you get a moment to say, hey, Kirsten, hey, I heard this. I might be off, but if there's anything going on, you always have an ear, and just listening to your intuition.
That's amazing. Thank you. So Haven, if somebody needed help, or as you've said, if somebody thought someone needed help, can they call too? Can they reach out to Haven, or?
So we're an empowerment-based organization, which is we need the individual who's seeking help to reach out.
Okay.
Of course, anybody in community can reach out to Haven. We have haven-oakland.org, and then 248-334-1374. And when you do reach out, you can get information. We'll talk to anybody to get the information, and then we encourage the empowerment piece. Because if they don't want to seek the help, they're not ready. They have to be. It takes about 7 times to leave an abusive relationship. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, and the same with the sexual assault. It takes. You only have 5 days to report a sexual assault for evidential value. Okay. So that clock is much sooner, to try to get people.
So 5 days from the actual assault is when it needs to be reported.
It needs when we need to do an exam.
The exam, okay.
And so we really encourage folks. You can do the exam and not fear. You might not want to prosecute, or you might not be sure. We can, as long as we do the exam, you can prosecute a year from now, 10 years from now.
Time on that?
Not with sexual assaults. There's different levels of, timelines, like now, if were assaulted as a child by a certain birthday. So there's all kinds of, but for the most part, you don't have to prosecute immediately.
Okay.
So, just to know about both of those situations.
And that may actually help somebody decide to start the process to leave?
To start the process
to start it, right? To get that exam done and know that it's there and...
Yep. So for the sexual assault piece, a lot of time, domestic violence can include strangulation and sexual assault and domestic violence. Those are our worst and most lethal cases. Okay. So absolutely, a sexual assault exam is a perfect opportunity, because then we are out of the home. But if you're just experienced a sexual assault, just to keep in mind, or someone that you've known, there is a window as far as collecting evidence, but we are always there for services as long as you need them. But leaving specifically for a domestic violence situation, our crisis line is a great place to start, because it gives you all kinds of information. Our folks work in the crisis line 24/7, have an idea, can navigate what's unique to you. If you have a W-2 and you have a good paying job, but your finances are commingled, then we will help work with collaborative partners, banks, to get money, to start hiding money over there for you, so you can, when you do make the jump, then you have, the banks are separated. You tell your human resources to move your money over to this account, and then it's, financially you're able to move forward. And then we navigate all those, once you throw that rock, there's a lot of ripple effects, and that's what Haven's there for you,
That is amazing. What's the crisis hotline number?
248-334-1374. Or again, everything is available at haven-oakland.org.
Okay, and that crisis hotline is available 24/7?
24/7.
Okay. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, thank you for having us.
Okay, you, Kirsten. Kirsten. Community Housing Network. And you had mentioned that you had worked with them sometimes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
We're definitely community
Are you,
partners.
okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
so what does Community Housing Network do?
So we are a housing provider. So we provide housing services where we do homeless street outreach, working to connect with people that are living out on the street or in other places not meant for human habitation, and to get them into housing and connected with mental health services. We also, and then we do everything all the way to helping people to buy their first home. So we do everything in between, from rapid rehousing, working with Haven to get their folks out of the shelter and into sustainable living situations. We do permanent supportive housing for those. Something's not working.
I don't hear you well.
Oh boy.
We're
We're going to start
We're going to
over.
start over. Okay.
All right. We're going to start over.
So we're going to check the level for a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay.
There you go.
Got
All
it.
right. Good. So because this is important. So
Yeah.
Community Housing Network.
Yep.
Tell us one more time what you do.
Yeah, so we're a housing provider in southeastern Michigan, and actually we provide a housing development. We do development across the state, but we do everything from homeless outreach out on the street, helping people who are living on the street get connected into housing and to mental health resources, all the way up to helping people to buy their first home. So we have what's called rapid rehousing, which is like short-term housing to get people into housing. A lot of times we'll work with Haven and help their folks move.
Because that's
on.
like an emergency situation,
Yeah, they're emergency
right?
shelter, and then we do rapid rehousing, which is like short-term rental assistance up to about 12 months with some supports. And then we also have a longer-term permanent supportive housing, which are for people that have a disability who are going to need that longer-term rental assistance and wraparound supports to help them.
So often I have heard that, finding resources is so difficult for people. And that is, even with Haven, Shades of Pink Foundation, it's so hard for people who need the help sometimes to actually know where to look.
It is.
And so for people who are maybe suffering from housing instability,
Yes.
I can imagine that it's tough for them to figure out which way to turn to ask.
It is. It's really difficult, and because there are not enough resources to provide for everybody that needs housing, and B, I don't want to say intentionally, but it's very difficult. It's a very complex maze to navigate. Different programs, each different.
What you qualify for, what you need,
for,
right? Like the
exactly.
documents you even need to qualify.
Exactly. And so it's really important that we work with partners like Haven, and we have navigators on our team that help to navigate people through that system and teach people, here's what a housing choice voucher, or what people on the street know as Section 8. This is what it actually does. This is how long it takes to get one. Here's how it works. And here are the documents you might need to do that. And our navigators, once somebody is eligible for a program, we help them navigate through that, collecting their documents, making sure that they have everything they need, helping them to find a landlord that will accept their rental subsidy in an area that will work for them, that is near where they work, where their supports are, their family are, their
Maybe
kids'
schools, right?
Their kids' schools are. It's really important that we have, we work across all of Oakland and Macomb County.
And so can people literally call you up, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, they can. They can call us up. So we have our Housing Resource Center,
Okay.
which acts as the coordinated entry for Oakland County. And so if people are having housing instability, they can give us a call.
What qualifies as housing instability?
Well, that's a really good question because, unfortunately, most of the resources are for people who are literally homeless, which in the federal definition is considered Category 1. In an emergency shelter, on the street, living in your van, living in your car, or fleeing domestic violence. Those folks are always up at the top of the line.
Okay.
And so we work, like I said, we work a lot with Haven. And then Cat 2 are folks that are kind of the hidden homeless, right?
Okay.
Those are the people who are living in a motel. They're able to just kind of make it, and with their wages, they're working, and they're staying in this motel for a little bit, and then they move to another motel. They might be staying with Aunt Jane, and then
Sleeping on the couch or something.
Sleeping, and they're couch surfing. right?
Okay.
Very common. And so those are our hidden homelessness, and it's harder to find resources for those folks to be able to find stability, unfortunately.
And that's interesting because they're the ones that have a job and have income coming in, so you would think it might be easier.
Well, yeah, exactly. However, unfortunately, incomes have not stayed consistent with rent. And right now in the state of Michigan, about 42% of families can't afford their basic needs. It's figured in Oakland County, a family of four needs about $90,000 in order to rent a 2-bedroom apartment and meet their basic needs. And the average income is about $71,000. So there's a lot of people that are fitting in this gap. And there's a lot of people that are living in their cars, moving from parking lot to parking lot.
Right.
They're working, they're going to Planet Fitness, they're using that as their shower. These are our caregivers. These are the people who are working in assisted living. They're your clerk at the Rite Aid or at the CVS. They're the folks that are driving school buses, cooking your kids' lunches at school. It's really hard out there. Wages have not increased with the rents at all.
So, and how about the kids? I mean, there's so many kids out there that
There's so many.
my kids probably go to school with kids and don't have any idea that
They
right?
do. And the amount of children and that instability that creates when you have the homelessness, right, and you're moving around. There are a lot of really great programs through the Oakland Intermediate School District that help to give resources to family members so that their kids can continue to go to the school that is considered their home school. They can provide transportation resources. So if they end up at Haven, they lived down in, say, West Bloomfield or Oxford, they can still get transportation back to school to Oxford or West Bloomfield or wherever.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
there are resources, and I will say there's not enough because there are always wait lists for everything.
Okay, so how can people help Community Housing Network?
There's so many ways that people can help Community Housing Network. Obviously, resources, right? Making donations. That helps us to fill in the gaps to be able to buy the things that many of our federal grants can't afford us to do. Furniture, we work with the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. We work with a variety of different other partners. But making a home and security deposits. So cash is always king. I hate to say that. You can also support us by really learning about homelessness and understanding and really dispelling the myth about who is homeless. It's average 60% of people who are experiencing homelessness are working.
Wow.
And there's this myth out there that people who are homeless are lazy, they don't want to work, they don't want to have resources, they don't want to recover if they have a substance use issue. And I don't see that the case at all. People who we are able to get into housing, they are so grateful and they really take that opportunity and they rebuild their lives and they become productive members of our society. It's amazing.
It's kind of, I think everyone, including with Haven and everyone, I mean, you just need somebody to believe in you.
You do.
And then you need somebody to help you.
You do. You do. And that believing in you and seeing you as a human. I think sometimes when people are experiencing homelessness or housing instability, you really get the sense in our society that you have some kind of moral failing. And you really don't. It's not because you haven't tried hard enough. It's not because you haven't worked hard enough. It's because we all need assistance at some times. And one of the things that we work really hard at Community Housing Network is really seeing each individual as a human being, right? And looking at what are your strengths? What are you really good at? And not necessarily just looking at all of their deficits and what they need to fix. Because when you focus on what works with people, they have so much resiliency and so much strength, and that will bloom. And then what doesn't work, it kind of falls away. Or they I got to take care of this because this is going to threaten this.
Right.
Yeah. It's amazing.
When I think like you were saying with the senior center is the one thing in common is community.
Yeah.
Is find your community. You're not alone.
Find your people, right?
At Haven,
Absolutely.
You're not alone.
Absolutely.
At community.
Yeah,
So
I absolutely love that. Thank you all so much. Seriously, I have my segment is usually called Halfway to 100 because I love the elder population. I was so close to my grandparents, and I just I always just saw what they needed and what different things that happened during that time that they were still with us. So it's I'm super grateful to be a part of your event coming up in November. And Cindy, You made me think of Olga's. The one in Westland, of course, is closed now. That's a bummer. So I have to go to the one on Ford Road. But and of course, Community Housing Network. You know what an amazing, amazing organization.
Yeah, and I do want to add that we do have an event coming up on October 24th, and we're having an 80s homecoming, which is going to be a really fun event. And how, as an adult, we get to get dressed up and go to homecoming and listen to all the really good music.
Oh, see, I love that.
And support a really great cause.
Right.
So it's going to be in Pontiac at the Lafayette Grand Hotel on October 24th.
Okay. How do people find more information?
You can go to communityhousingnetwork.org.
Okay.
And if you're in housing, if you need housing resources, please do call 248-269-1334, and that will get you to our Housing Resource Center.
Okay. Thank you so much. And of course, Haven, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, thank you. And people, if someone needs help, they can reach out to your crisis line, right?
Crisis line, and then haven-oakland.org.
Okay.
Someone's always there to help. You're not alone, and we're there to help.
Well, I think it's what you said too. It's all about community, and it's about community sticking together and celebrating, and just kind of paying attention and maybe just listening a little bit more than we do, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, all of you. Before we go, I do want to tell you that I am going to be in Birmingham on Saturday. I'm going to be at the Village Players. This is kind of exciting. I do have an acting background, so I am going to be participating in the Shorts and Sweets. It is a fall festival happening. It's free, by the way, but it is 6 original plays, 10 minutes each, and then there's going to be a talk back with a playwright after each little show. So I'm thrilled to be in that. That is happening Saturday. The bigger part of that is there's a dessert buffet afterward.
That's a good thing.
So come out, join us. That is Saturday. Doors open at 7, and the performances begin at 7:30, and it's just going to be a fun night. So come out and see us. In the meantime, thank you all so much for being here. I know we've gone over a little bit, but you know what? Happy Monday, happy October, and until next week, keep the coffee hot. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.